Hello, welcome or welcome back. I am Andrea B, and thank you for joining me with video number 30. I'm so excited that I've hit this milestone and almost a year. My first video was 11 months ago. I want to see the specific date. Can't believe it's been almost a year. Let's see. March 8th. So, yes, quite close, but happy day to you all. It's Monday for me, very hot Monday. So, I'm staying hydrated, and this is a special hydration drink that I will share more details about in upcoming videos. But for now, just know that it is mango and citrus flavors, pretty good, but cheers. Oops, didn't mean to make that sound, but it's so good. Anyway, I am excited to be here as always and just to speak on the importance of not taking things so personally and knowing that not everything is about you. This will be a piggyback off of the previous video on the importance of women learning to share the spotlight with men and knowing that it does not have to be a competition. If a man has the spotlight, it doesn't mean a woman is less valuable, not as important, her voice is less important. It doesn't mean any of that, and it shouldn't. However, I know there are the exceptions where some men do put women down and they may want to take up all the space. But the purpose of that video was to speak to the women that have a harder time letting men lead and take the spotlight. So just to continue on, also, I just want to show this book too because it's related. If you have not read this book, it is great. And I bring this one up because one of the 4 agreements is don't take anything personally. And it says nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. So that part is important because people take things personally, and what happens? They become a victim, and there are a lot of people walking around with victim mindsets. And because of that mindset, it's likely keeping you stuck in this place of whatever the circumstance was. And because you're stuck, you're maybe waiting for an apology. You're holding on to some anger towards somebody, all because you took something personally that may not have anything to do with you. And most times, I see that people take things personally because of a miscommunication. So I use this example quite a bit with clients. If I tell you, I don't think you're capable of cooking this dish, you may walk away taking that as, oh, Andrea said I'm stupid because I can't follow this recipe. Did I say stupid? No. However, because I said I don't think you're capable, you may walk away with a different meaning than I intended. And so it's best in that moment to ask me, what do I mean by that? And then I can further explain why I don't think you're capable And hopefully you can understand. And that doesn't mean you may like what I'm saying, but you can walk away with an understanding and know that I'm not calling you stupid. It has nothing to do with that. And that's where I see a lot of people struggling is they don't take time to truly understand the meaning of a person's words. And because of that, it leads to a fight or flight mode where, of course, if you hear something that sounds like an attack, you're ready to fight back, and it leads to a bigger issue. So that's why it's so important to just slow down and ask questions, make sure we fully understand what the message is, get the meaning behind the message so that we can make sure we're on the same page, move forward accordingly. Now, I used to struggle with this, especially when people speak in generalities, using generalities, where people will say, women do this, women do that, and I'd be thinking, I don't do that. And I take it personally because I had to realize that when most people say women, it should be common sense that they don't mean all women. And people won't usually say, some people today will start to say some women, most women, and some people will just say women. They won't specify that there is a percentage. And because of that, I'd take it personally and I'd want to defend myself against that statement to prove that no, not all women do this. And when I learned to put myself aside and realize that maybe I don't do it, but that doesn't mean most women don't do this thing. And I am a part of the exception when it comes to certain things. Just like there may be women that cannot relate to some things that I've been through, but it still may be a part of the majority experience. And when I think of that, I often see, and I'm using women just because it was the first thing that popped up, but I'm sure you can apply this to other areas. But as I'm saying this, I often see that women have a hard time listening because they're still stuck on that all women don't do this or that's not my story. And because they are trying to defend the exceptions so much, it is hard for them to get past that defensive state to use some logic to understand the statistics out there. And sometimes it causes women to defend battles that are not even theirs, which is very unfortunate. And I just think there's an example in my head, and I'm careful about sharing it because it's about all of the topics that YouTube is very careful about. And I just remember a woman shared her experience with terminating her child, and she was speaking on the possibility of her baby being born with a birth defect. But she was defending women that terminated their babies because of some type of unwanted, non consensual sexual acts. And it had nothing to do with her, but she was so passionate about defending women that have gone through that, that she could not see that majority of women that terminate their babies are just sleeping around. They have higher body counts and they are more, maybe more promiscuous or sexually liberated, that she just could not see the point. And I think that topic is so important. I know it's not really related to the don't taking things personally, but as you know, if you've been here before, sometimes my thoughts spark another thought, which can lead to other conversations, and here we are. But speaking from experience of what I've seen and the stories I've heard, what saddens me most is that there are so many women giving themselves to men that don't deserve it, that should not be worth their time. And I heard recently somebody say, you're not settled. If you're dating someone that you think is beneath you, you're not settling because chances are that's the person that you're meant to be with until you learn your lesson. And I bring that up because if we if we think we're truly settling in a relationship, common sense will tell us get out of that relationship. But what happens often is that women will say, I'm settling when I'm with you, and they'll constantly choose the same person. So, on that subject, again, it just breaks my heart that women are giving their time and their resources and their bodies to men that treat them like trash. So, tangent over. Back to not taking things personally. It it frustrates me, especially back when I was living in Illinois, more of the Chicagoland area, South Suburb area. Do not stare at people. If you are from Illinois in the Chicagoland area, you know. If you stare at someone, be prepared to fight or be prepared to be cursed out because someone is going to say, what the F are you looking at? Just know. And I I bring that up because I remember too, I had that issue many years ago. This was maybe back in 2011 or 2012, but there were two women just looking at me in my direction, and I was walking with other people. So it wasn't obvious who they were staring at, but I knew they were looking at us. And I was just so annoyed because I'm thinking, why are they staring at me? And one of the people I was with said, maybe they think you're pretty or maybe they're admiring you. But at the time, I wasn't hearing that because I was just so annoyed that they were just staring. And now I can hold that alternative to say, yes, that's a possibility. And that's exactly what Don Miguel speaks about in this book is one of the important things of not taking things personally and also not making assumptions because what if they were admiring me instead of hating or gossiping or saying something nasty, but my mind automatically went to the negative. And I just think of how many missed opportunities we could have if we're just assuming the worst. We are missing opportunities to connect with people and form relationships because if we're just always thinking someone is judging us or being negative, that doesn't leave room for the times where people want to be kind and they're trying to be sweet and sincere. And I don't know what is that about. The reason why this topic is so important too is because I've been thinking about how people truly walk around thinking that others are out to get them. Now, there may be someone out to get you. It's possible. But how many people, like realistically speaking, if you have that many people out to get you, you must have done some type of crime, something terrible, maybe serial killer vibes, bank robbery, I don't know, gang related, something that you were not supposed to be doing. To have so many people after you, then that means you know better. That means you know what you did. But if you are walking around thinking people are out to get you because of what a friend did or a random person did or a family member did, you're taking out and projecting that attitude onto people that don't deserve it. So, and regardless, yes, if people are out to get you, hold those feelings towards those people. Don't take it out on a random cashier that's just trying to say, hello, how are you? How's your day? So many people get attitudes with random people, and they did nothing to deserve that. And I know for some reason, I used to take things out on people that didn't deserve it. And I looked back at all the opportunities I could have had to make new friends or form connections, even if it's not a lifelong relationship, but just something to connect with someone on. And I missed all of those opportunities just because I was walking around with an attitude. And the people that should have paid for treating me poorly did not pay for that. Instead, random people had to pay for their mistakes. And that's not fair at all. That's just not fair. And I've had to forgive myself for behaving poorly like that. And this is a public apology to anyone that I've harmed just for having an attitude that did not deserve it, because there is a ripple effect. Hopefully, those people were strong enough to not allow my attitude to ruin their day and to put a poor taste in their mouth, because they just didn't deserve that. And so I think of too, going back to another common thread I hear of why black men are mostly done with black women, because they say there's always that one or that handful of black women that just ruin it for the rest of the class. And it's unfortunate. I understand the well, what I understand is not that men should take it out on all black women, right? And say, oh, I'm done with black women. No, no, no. No, no, no. However, if that leads to you opening your perspective to say, maybe I should consider women of another race, I can see that point. But like I said, don't just take it out on all the black women. But anyway, taking things personally. And that can be on the same thread too, because again, if a black man says the number of black women I've been around have just been nasty and just have had attitudes and have been disrespectful, if you did nothing to deserve that, just know that it wasn't about you. It's about them. And that's what I mean by being strong enough, is hopefully you can take away from this message to be strong enough to know that majority of what people are going through has nothing to do with you. Majority of what they try to project on you has nothing to do with you. And I'm going to take a sip. Going back to, there was a thought before this that I wanted to continue on. come back. I was talking about random taking things out on people that don't deserve it. And oh, yes, people being out to get you. Now, the reason I go back to that is because that's how people walk around, as if everyone is out to get them. And everyone is out to hurt them or take advantage of them. And because most of us have been stung so many times that we just don't know who to trust. We're always looking over our shoulder. We're always questioning people's motives. It's always guilty until proven innocent. That is the wrong attitude to have, because again, you're making people work overtime to prove their innocence, when if they did not do anything to deem them as guilty, they should be seen as innocent. And allow yourself to, that the more you interact with this person, use the wisdom and discernment you have to see the warning signs. The red flags will come out. As much as people try to hide their true nature, it won't work. Eventually, something that doesn't add up will come out. There will be a contradiction. People will tell on themselves, and the bells will start going off. And it's funny too, because not haha funny, but interesting rather, that I was walking around making everyone guilty and still ignoring the warning signs. How foolish is that to do? It's very foolish, because people are telling me who they are. Friends were telling me. I had friends that would gossip, had friends that were dishonest, and romantic relationships I've been in where men are dishonest, and it's right there in my face, and I'm wanting to try to understand why they would do something like this. Why did I deserve this? How could you hurt me like this? And blah 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 blah. When, okay, nothing wrong with asking those questions and wanting information, but 9 times out of 10, that information just does not matter and won't change anything, because second chances can be okay, and some things are just non-negotiable. And that's something I had to learn for myself, is that I don't have to accept everything. I don't have to fight for everything. I can walk away, and I have a right to do so. Nothing wrong with that. And if I decide to give that person another chance, that means I need to be looking for evidence that they have changed their behavior. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they keep giving access to people that just don't deserve it. And of course, you're going to walk around looking over your shoulder, because all you have is evidence of people taking advantage of you and hurting you. So of course you're going to take things personally, because you have evidence that people are mistreating you. And instead, you need more evidence of when people are kind and loving and sincere, to know that it's not about you. Especially when you give your best efforts, and you have to be honest with yourself. If you're truly giving your best and people are still treating you poorly, it is about them, not you. Now, that's where I had to be honest because I wasn't always giving my best and I was treated poorly. So I was able to say, well, duh, it makes sense. If I'm being unkind, why should I expect you to be kind? Another example I use all the time. If someone randomly slaps me for no reason, that has nothing to do with me. Now, if I slap someone and they slap me back and I'm just crying about it, it's like, well, what do you expect? Um, I hit you first, so why would I expect you to? Why am I surprised that you're fighting back? That's foolish. And I see that often. It's annoying too that most of the examples I see of the victim mentality are women. You may not like this, ladies, but it is true. And I said most, not all. If you can step away from the victim mentality for a moment to look around you, look at the evidence in media, majority of the people in this world that behave like victims are women. And most times, women get away with it. Why? Society is wired in a very weird way that is so unfortunate that allows women to get away with things. And not for too long, though. It'll always catch up to them. But it's so unfortunate because I just think of it just keeps people stuck. Keeps people stuck. And what I mean by that is it prevents people from taking accountability and or responsibility for their actions. So that's why I said just be honest with yourself. If you are not putting your best foot forward, then things will start to make sense. But if you know that you are doing your best and things are not working out, it's not about you. It's about the other person. And if it is about you, that means you have to look at what are you choosing to accept. Because again, if let's flip it, if someone slaps me and I know that it's not about me, but I say, okay, well, let's be friends, let's hang out. Why would I accept that from someone that, like, what is it that they're doing to prove that they're worth hanging out with and being friends with? Because if you slap me for no reason, chances are you're going to get cut off. So we have to be very careful about what we tolerate because we can scream all day long that this person is manipulative, and we have to look at ourselves and ask, why are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated? It goes both ways because if you allow yourself to be manipulated, a person will keep manipulating you because they're getting away with it. Of course, why would they stop? If it's working, they're going to keep doing it. That's why so many relationships or where women are accepting the same thing from men is that the man is able to say, I won't do it again. I'm sorry. And then what happens? They do it again. So if we don't set those boundaries and if we don't show people how to treat us, they will just keep treating us however they want to. So if you say, I won't tolerate this, and actually follow through, then people will know to take you seriously. And I know I don't have to explain this, but I just want to, because as a woman, examples of what women do come easier, especially when it comes to relationships, because I can easily remember my relationship, my previous relationships with men, and what they did, didn't do. And a lot of women stay away from channels because they don't like what they hear. And if you just happen to not like what I'm saying, you're you're gonna get the truth regardless. And I pray that you are open to receiving this, because there are some people that won't care enough to tell you the truth. They will watch you make a fool of yourself and smile in your face and laugh behind your back and talk about you. And then you'll get to a point where you say, why didn't anybody tell me, or I should have listened? And I know I was there too. There had a friend, and we fell off, but I remember her telling me, you don't take responsibility for your actions. And she was right. But the reason I did not take responsibility for my actions is because I was too busy blaming other people that I could not see what I was doing wrong, because I was so hurt, I was so wounded, and no one was helping me repair those wounds. I wanted someone to prove why I should trust them. And like I said, I would ask all the questions. Why would you do this? How could you hurt me? For some reason, I don't know why I thought that could fix everything. I was so focused on words and not the actions. And for some reason, I forget the word, but when people are just so wrapped up in words, and they can't see anything else. And it's essentially, some people made broken promises and I just held on to it. And I take words very seriously. So when people say they're going to do something, I pay attention. And if they don't, for some reason, I've learned to excuse that. And I don't know it. I can't pinpoint the direct source, but growing up, I did not have the best example of stable relationships. So somewhere along the way, people modeled to me that they can do whatever they want as long as they say the right things and wrap it with a bow. And it got me into trouble. But see, I can't blame those people because of what they did. If I know that it's not right, regardless of what I learned, I shouldn't be doing it. And back to that victim mentality, it gets us all into trouble, because people go back to their childhoods and they blame their parents and their caregivers, etc. And of course, that doesn't mean that what happened to you wasn't painful and hurtful and traumatic. But what will we do with that now? Because there are so many conversations I've wanted to have with people about what they did 10 years ago. And I decided it's not worth it. Not telling you to say the same thing, but sometimes people just don't remember. And sometimes that laundry list is so long that I'd want to go through everything and say, I was hurt for this, and then this, and then this, and then that. And I said, you know what? because I was young and I did not know better, I will forgive them. However, moving forward, if any wrongdoing happens to me, I now know to speak up about it and proceed accordingly. And that benefits me because, like I said, I'm able to, I've already accepted those people in my life. If they're still here 10 years later, they may have done something that I thought was harmful, but if they've been around all this time, I'd just rather forgive them. And like I said, now I know better, and not walk around so hurt and wounded, because it doesn't make sense. I wasn't having conversations with people about how hurt I was, but they were still in my life all this time. So I'm thinking, let me work on me, and now I can look at the world through a different lens, and that's helped me forgive people. So now I focus on making the most of the relationships that I have. And then that comes with holding people accountable, because I don't know where, somewhere along the way, I learned to not have conversations. I learned to just keep things to myself, and that's why I was so hurt. And I remember I remember elementary school in fifth grade. I thought this girl and I were play fighting, but on her end it got serious, and she hit me in the face, and my nose was swollen. And this guy in the class saw it and he said, "Dang." And so a whole weekend went by, and Monday came, and I thought that guy would remember. So I looked at him and had like this puppy dog look on my face, thinking he would remember and say, "Dang, are you all right? I remember what happened on Friday." And he just looked at me. He's like, "What?" And I just didn't say anything. Like, oh, he doesn't remember. But I bring up that example because I had been holding on to that all weekend. And for some reason, I expected him to remember, and he didn't even remember. And how long do I need to hold on to things before I decide to let it go? And I don't want to walk around as a victim, and that means I'm putting my healing on hold for other people to repair. And I don't want to wait for other people. How many times have you heard that you are waiting for an apology that you may never get? And that's just the truth. And it may not feel good, it may not sound good, but that's why I decided to no longer wait and to do the work myself. Of course, with the help of God too, because it's a cliche when people say forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. But it's very true, because when we have unforgiveness in our hearts, it sometimes comes with anger, wanting revenge, being hateful, and wanting and preying on people's downfall. Why do that? Why plot and harbor those feelings when the whole time this person is just living their life? They likely forgot what happened, they don't care, and what good will revenge do? I had to ask myself that question quite a few times, and I realized I really don't want to hurt other people. And let's say someone is hurt after hurting me. That doesn't take away the hurt that I'm feeling. My hurt will still be there. And so now we just have two people that are hurt, and what good will that do? Because some people think if I hurt you back, you'll see what it feels like. And no, we all can go through the same thing and hurt differently. So, how will a person truly know how hurt we are? We can tell them, but they are never going to feel what we're feeling because we are all different people. I can say my leg hurts and you can say yours too, and it could be in the same spot, but the intensity of the pain could be so different that, again, I can't make you feel what I'm feeling. I can never do that. You can never make someone feel what you're feeling, but we can describe it well enough that people can understand, but they just won't be able to feel it for themselves. So that's why wanting revenge and getting back at people is just useless. Doesn't mean please defend yourself. When you need to defend yourself, defend yourself. If you feel like your life is in danger, defend yourself. And I say when your life is in danger because if you're like me, you don't care about the words people use. People will try to curse you out and say hurtful things, and what's the point of fighting back there and arguing? Now, you can defend yourself if someone is spreading lies about you, of course, but there are times where I honestly think I don't, people can just talk, they can say whatever they want, they're going to do that anyway, and some things aren't worth getting worked up on. OMG. Did y'all see that? That scared me. Petals falling. Those flowers last long though. I got those January 24th, and they're slowly dying. I forget what they're called, but scared me. See, you got to be on alert. Use your ear. Do you see how there's so many things going on in this world that if you're just focused on one thing all the time, you're missing out on so many things. Not just stuff like that, but just opportunities to live and feel good and to be free. That is why I know I started this video with not everything is about you, because there are billions of people in this world. Sometimes it's about me. Sometimes it is about you or your mom, your dad, your grandma, your cousin. It's about other people. It's about other things. So there's a time and place for every single thing. And sometimes we have to put things on the shelf, come back to it later. Sometimes things are resolved and we never come back to them again. And I can guarantee that there are some things that you never need to come back to again, but you are holding on to them for dear life, and your body is crying out in some way saying, please let this go so that I can be free. It is the best feeling in the world. When I say to truly be free and liberated, that's what it looks like. It's letting go of things that don't serve you. And you have to look within and look at, what is it that you're holding on to? Does this serve me? And if not, how can you let go of it? How can you begin to let go? What is it that you can do differently? And most times it just takes a mindset shift. Instead of looking at yourself as a victim, look at yourself as a survivor, as a warrior, as strong, and build on those strengths instead of tearing yourself down. Because like I said before, in all those relationships I had that didn't work out, I'm telling myself I'm unlovable, maybe I'm unattractive, and maybe I'm not worthy and deserving of love, and not true. Now, whether you think I'm attractive or not is up to you. I know what I know what I know. I know what I know. But once I started telling myself the truth, liberation nation. Liberation nation. I like that. But that's where I'm operating in now is true liberation, because I got tired of being weighed down. I was holding myself back because of other people's thoughts and opinions and their narratives about me. I didn't have to hold on to that. And instead of looking at a victim, I realized that I overcame so much that I'm still alive. So I have an opportunity to keep on living. So I want to make the most of it while I have the time, before the time runs out. That is the whole purpose of being here and learning. Use your lessons, your life experiences as lessons. Use mine too. You don't have to go through what I went through, but my hope is always to tell you all my story and what I've seen, so that you can learn and improve your quality of life. And as I wrap up, that is just my hope for you all. I was getting a phone call. That's why I was looking off to the side. But that's my hope for you all, is that you can break free from the victim mentality and just know that some people are treating you poorly because of their own issues. And I think when you begin to see life that way, you will respond so productively that you won't be in that fight mode. You won't be in attack mode. You will just note and observe and pay attention. You'll pay attention differently. And the way I like to see it is, if someone says something that may be harmful, that is seen as harmful, and I respond with something harmful and defensive, we're both likely going to clash. And so instead of clashing, it's best for one of us to just be even, more neutral, and that person will likely calm down and meet us at that neutral state, to know that it doesn't have to be a fight. Or they may just stay up here, and then you'll realize that, okay, I'm not gonna meet you at this fight level, so I'm gonna stay down here. And if that's how you choose to operate, we just will have to go our separate ways. Because sometimes people, they just have that fight spirit in them, for that's just so much that they're not trying to calm down. They want to fight and they're prepared for a fight. So you don't have to fight with them. We all have a choice. And there are so many times I hear people say, I did this because of you, and if you hadn't done this, I wouldn't have done this. And I know you may be saying, easier said than done, you're delusional, you're out of touch, and I know, because that just shows how much control we all actually have, is that we don't have to fight. We don't have to say things. And if you don't have control over yourself and your words and your actions, then who does have control Ask yourself that. If I'm not in control, who is? And if you're just that much out of control that you're going to say and do whatever, regardless of who is hurt in the process, you should probably be locked up somewhere. I don't know where, but locked up away from the rest of us. Because there are people that are possessed, and there are people that just, they snap in a second. And we usually don't want to be around those people because nothing good comes out of it. And again, if your mind is just gone like that, you should probably be locked up. And you probably won't even take in the words that I'm saying, because you will probably tell yourself that I'm lying again, I'm delusional, I don't know what I'm talking about. However, I do believe that most of us have what it takes to change our mindset, to think and use wisdom, and to grow. I'd like to think all, then maybe I'd really be delusional and out of touch, because my dream is for every person to break free from mental bondage, emotional bondage, because our brains, our thoughts can be so twisted and dark. You probably thinking, where did this come from? And it may freak you out, because I've had some thoughts that have freaked me out, and I have to fight every day to not hold on to those thoughts. So that's how I know that the work I'm telling you all, it works, because I have to do it. And I tell people all the time, that's the good news and the bad news. The good news is, once you know better, you can do better. You have a chance to do better. As long as you are alive, you have a chance. The bad news is that we are going to be doing this work for the rest of our lives. Every single moment, hour of the day, for the rest of our lives. That can be 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. Can you imagine 1,000 years of doing the same mental work? I don't know if we'll go back to living that long, but my goodness, every day we have to choose to think positively and to see the best and to hold on to what feels good. And if it feels good, you will likely want to hold on to it anyway. So that's why doing this work this is why I choose it, and I hope that you all choose it, because it works and it feels good. The more evidence you have of it working, you'll likely keep doing it. And that can be with anything. Think of cooking a recipe. If you follow it and it works and it comes out well, you'll keep making it. If you fix your car a certain way and it works, you'll keep doing it. You do your hair a certain way, your makeup, whatever. If you're like me, you like to hold on to what works, because I just imagine how much better life will be moving forward the more that I keep doing what works. So that is all. And that's just my prayer for you all, is that you can choose liberation, true liberation from yourselves, and excuse me, to know when to fight. Not everything is worth fighting for. Not everything has to be a fight. Let people fight by themselves. You don't have to match that crazy. And that's honestly that has made me feel good, when other people are choosing to fight and they're being negative and I'm remaining calm. that felt good to me because I knew that I was doing my best and I knew that I was growing, and I could pat myself on the back and just say, congratulations. I'm proud of you for choosing differently because, like I said before, I was so far gone. I was not in touch with myself enough to realize the damage that I was doing. So, the more inward that I turned, I began to shape my behaviors around the person I said I want to be. The behaviors that I want to model, I began to choose because the way I was behaving, you would have thought I was out of control. And it'd be fair to say that. I wouldn't even be mad if you said the people that knew me when I was foolish, they probably will always have that narrative of me because I was out there being foolish. And so those people may not see the work I've done. Maybe they're just not around, they're not in my life to see it, but they may not believe it because they only knew me one way. And homegirl was out of control. And she's me. She's in there. But now I can hold compassion toward that version of me, and she didn't know better all the time. She just wasn't doing better. She was delusional, and I don't look back at myself with hate. And I just, we have to forgive ourselves too. Not just other people, but it's best to forgive ourselves. And again, choose. Sometimes we're hurting ourselves, so it's not just about other people hurting us, but sometimes we are hurting ourselves. Most of the times, honestly, we're hurting ourselves, and we just need to get out of our own way. Stop hurting yourself. And I have to constantly forgive myself for some of the harm that I do. And that's where growth comes in. So that is all. With love, all the love. Thank you again for joining me on this 30th video. It has been a pleasure. You're not getting rid of me, don't worry. There's more to come, but this is just a celebration of how far I've come over the past year, and we are just getting started. So take care, stay hydrated, take care of yourselves, love one another, and until next time, peace.